Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Digital Master, and today we're taking a look at the Star Citizen Monthly Report for August 2025. Now, there's a lot packed into these updates covering everything from AI and gameplay to ships, narrative, and more. I'll be walking through it all in straightforward terms, breaking down the highlights and progress across the teams, so that it's easy to follow along and see what's been happening in development for this past month. So, hey, sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy. So the AI content team made steady progress this month. The team is reworking a key NPC type for landing zones, with the goal of making those areas feel more alive. They're also developing new voice packs, refining NPC behaviors, and preparing upcoming environments so that AI populations are ready to go when those locations release. Moving on to AI features, the AI features team spent this month polishing how NPCs fight. They improved how weapons work for them, adding proper overheating, fixing how charged weapons behave, and reworking trigger pulls so they fire more naturally. They even added a short pre-firing stage so NPCs won't just sit in cover charging their weapons anymore. They also fixed the bug where NPCs would sometimes stop shooting after their very first shot. Now on the combat side, NPCs now react better when you hit weak spots or deal distortion damage, and they started improving how certain creatures, like the Copian, behave when they flee. They also worked on making groups of NPCs coordinate more realistically, with leaders giving direction and better logic for knowing when an NPC is alone, so their dialogue and actions fit the situation. And finally, they fixed an odd bug where NPCs would still play voice lines even after dying. Now that one's not in the live game yet, but it is on the way. Now over on the AI tech side, navigation got a major upgrade. Instead of NPCs checking one path at a time, they now calculate the shortest route across all areas in a single step. This means smoother movement and fewer cases of NPCs getting stuck. They even added a system to shut down broken paths temporarily so AI won't keep trying the same bad route. Ship AI saw a lot of polish as well. NPCs on defense will now move to keep targets within range. Idle ships will fly with more variety instead of just circling, and formation flying bugs were fixed. They also tuned up combat styles like strafing and jousting to make space fights feel more natural. For turrets, unmanned ones can now properly detect enemies. Now that's a boost for security systems, so when you're thinking of the space stations, right, those turrets, that's what we're talking about here. That is a big deal. Continuing on the dev tool side, the team improved the usable builder, the system that handles things NPCs can interact with, by adding collision fixes, better group coordination, drop-down menus for easier editing, and the ability to load saved layouts. They've also started work on a new voxel-based 3D pathfinder for even more advanced navigation in the future, while tightening up their scripting tools to make AI development more reliable overall. The game intelligence development team kept pushing forward this month. They worked on the density profiler, adding new controls to make it easier to use, and polishing up the visuals for the Mission System V2 prototype while also outlining how its properties will be designed. They also started designing a new scripting interface to help unify how all the tools in the game talk to each other, making development smoother overall. Now on top of that, they kept squashing smaller bugs and adding features to StarScript based on feedback from the game designers. Moving on to animation. In August, the animation team focused on creatures, polishing the Copian and starting work on a brand new one. They also built assets for the upcoming MedGel dispenser and updated death animations to make sure they look right in the game. Facial animation teamed up with the motion capture and narrative teams to record new content for releases coming soon and into next year. They're also processing previously captured dialogue, which includes new mission givers and fresh lines for Amelia Boyd. And as a final note, the team continued supporting narrative by producing SSN newsflash reports, those in-game broadcasts you'll see during special timed events. The character art team spent August building armor for a new gang, while also handling requests for subscriber flare and CitizenCon Direct. They kept developing new armor variants too, both for gameplay rewards and store items. Meanwhile, the concept art team kicked off the exploration phase for a brand new set of heavy armor. Moving on to art. The ship development team kept a steady pace in August. In the UK, 3 unannounced ships all moved forward in the gray box phase, one nearing its final review, another being improved for the component access, and the third just getting started after white box. For announced ships, the Anvil Paladin advanced into the LOD0 stage, the Kruger L21 Wolf was released and is getting follow-up fixes, and the Drake Ironclad and Ironclad Assault are pushing toward their white box reviews. The RSI Aurora and the Aegis Hammerhead both began modernization work, while the RSI Perseus was polished for its LOD0 review, and the Drake Kraken continued pre-production. That's exciting. Now the big news, though, is that the MISC Hull B officially entered pre-production after its updated concept was approved. Now in North America, while the RSI Apollo Medevac and Triage are both being prepped for release, some of that team has now shifted onto a related but unannounced ship. Moving on to community updates. In August, the community team kept up their regular updates like the roadmap roundup, arena commander schedule, and of course the monthly report that I'm summarizing for you right now. They also continued improving Spectrum and Web 2s with help from the Montreal team. Big events including Ship Showdown 2955, where the community rallied behind their favorite ships, leading up to the RSI players being crowned champion. Woohoo! They also supported the release of Alpha 4.3.0, Dark Territory, with FAQs and a Q&A for the new Kruger L21 Wolf. On the event side, prep for CitizenCon Direct 2955 is in full swing, including a machinima video contest and plans for live watch parties across North America and Europe. And the Bar Citizen World Tour made 2 stops last month, Gamescom in Cologne and PAX West in Seattle. Now, August was a huge month for core gameplay, with most of the team tied up on Alpha 4.3.0, but plenty of progress was made on key systems as well. Freight elevators continued to get fixes and better debug tools, while the team also tackled issues like unreliable medical beacons and physics exploits. Medical gameplay saw a big step forward with MedGel. This will now be required for respawning, making medical ships more distinct, and it also led to improvements in the overall respawn flow. Creature work continued, with devs finalizing unique behaviors and attacks, while the engineering screen got updates to show heat change rates and bug fixes. For item recovery, players can now see timers on claimed items before they become unusable, along with notifications when something breaks. Crafting moved forward, with an offline blueprint service and the first playable prototype in multiplayer. Very exciting. Flight systems also advanced. Control surfaces were improved to stop jittering. NPCs now use them in atmosphere, and G-limiter support was added for atmospheric flight. IFCS saw work on Maelstrom, with destroyed parts now reducing thrust, closing a common exploit and making ships feel more realistic when damaged. On the immersion side, cockpit dashboards now animate and vibrate when ships fire or maneuver. Quantum travel and interdiction got bug fixes and polish, including clearer markers on interdicted ships. Turrets now stop firing if aimed at their own host ship, cutting down on awkward angles. Radar and scanning improvements were made too, with better target info and positioning for larger ships. The transport system moved closer to feature parity with the old transit system, including instanced hangars, design scripting, and early prep for dynamic server meshing. Inventory rework is progressing as well, with proximity looting, filters, and search now in place. And finally, the team supported an upcoming event by improving mission archetypes and scaling, setting up for smoother mission availability when it goes live. Moving on to economy. In August, the economy team kept pushing forward with their new economy model using recent data to guide updates. They're reviewing buy and sell prices for FPS weapons, armor, and consumables, and adjusting profit margins for salvaged ships and components. All of this ties into a bigger effort, making sure crafting stays profitable, salvaging components feel worthwhile, and exploits in the economy are kept in check. The mission team was heavily focused on Alpha 4.3 last month, especially with the addition of the new ASD Onyx facilities. They also kept improving the mission generation system to reduce pain points for both players and developers. And on top of that, they've been working to reintroduce existing missions to older locations, which will expand where missions can take place and bring back some interesting encounters. Moving on to narrative. Following the release of the new Onyx facilities, the narrative team focused on polishing the next wave of content players will find there. They also wrote and recorded several new mission characters debuting later this year, while an existing character returned to the studio for extra lines. Work also began on new NPC scripts designed to expand the overheard conversations that flesh out local lore across the verse. The team is also developing a brand new hostile faction for a future patch, establishing its voice and working closely with branding and character art. On top of that, they updated the text of older contracts to better match current gameplay, wrote tutorial missions for a new upcoming mechanic, and even created a fresh fiction piece for this month's Jump Point magazine to expand on recent events in the Empire. Now, in August, the online services team worked with QA to test the new Stow Context API, while development on Item Imprint version 1 continued. With the blueprint library wrapped up on the service side, they've now started building out the related APIs. They also kicked off early discovery for instancing, which ties directly into future server meshing work. Inventory systems got attention too, with updates to ensure only valid calls go through and support for lazy inventory creation, meaning inventories will now spin up automatically when needed. As usual, the team delivered bug fixes and improvements for missions and analytics. Live tools kept evolving as well, enhancing internal tools to help support staff monitor activity more effectively and ensure fair play. They also began designing a new entitlement service to track item history and status for faster, cleaner item recovery. On the tech side, Live 2 started restructuring error reporting to process crashes faster and at larger scale by moving to a new framework. Meanwhile, the network team focused on bug fixes, item and printing support, and laying groundwork for instancing and eventually dynamic server meshing. In August, the R&D team stayed focused on performance, analyzing the engine and game code to find ways to optimize and keep everything running smoothly. And finally, for VFX, the VFX team supported a wide range of features tied to the Alpha 4.3 and 4.3.1 releases, from locations and props to gameplay elements, helping deliver the visuals players have already been praising. They also lent support to both the vehicle and creature teams to bring their work to life. And that's the August monthly report in a nutshell. Now for me, a few things really stood out. First, the ships, with the Hull B moving into pre-production, the Apollo team shifting towards a similar mystery ship, and plenty of reworks and updates. There's a ton to look forward to on the ship front, for sure. Now on the gameplay side, I'm especially interested in the updates around blueprints and crafting, plus the progress being made toward dynamic server meshing and the new transit system. Both of those are huge steps for the game, right? And of course, Mission System V2 and the steady improvements to AI and NPC behavior are big wins as well. So all in all, it feels like solid progress across the board with some exciting steps forward in systems that will really shape Star Citizen long term. Now, how many of you are excited for CitizenCon Direct this year? Me, I'm really hoping we start to see more of those key systems come online, like the player-to-player economy and more quality improvements like the transit system updates mentioned in this same report. But let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this monthly report summary, drop me a like on the video. And if you're so inclined, consider subscribing for more. Now that's where I'll leave it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.